There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy, and joining me on this, the shortest day of the year, is my friend, the magnificent Joe Stanley. Hello, Joe.
Oh, Darcy, it's great to be here. And yes, what about winter solstice? It celebrates the longest hours of darkness and the rebirth of the sun, which in some cultures is believed to hold powerful energy for regeneration and renewal.
You are full of knowledge today, Joe. Given the recent series of events that have affected everyone around the world, let's hope that's the outcome as well, Joe.
Absolutely. And for those of us in the colder states, I love the winter solstice because from here on in, it's going to get warmer, I hope. At least we see more sun. And in the meantime, we crank up the heater or maybe stoke the wood fire. And I couldn't live without my electric blanket, I must say.
Well, everyone's got their heating appliances on, cooking hot meals, and the kettle seems to be on permanently at the moment. So it's also the time of the year where the emergency departments get an influx of burn injuries.
The numbers say at DARS, around 200,000 Australians suffer burns each year, with about 65% happening in the home. And during the pandemic, there was a surge in burns with so many people in the kitchen.
The name we all think of when we think burns is Dr. Fiona Wood. She became a household name after inventing spray-on skin that was used to treat survivors of the 2002 Bali bombing. She helped countless burns victims around the world, and I was lucky enough to talk to her from our hometown of Perth. Can you describe what it's like when someone arrives as a burns victim, how traumatic that is and how critical it is to get the right attention?
Point of fact is, whether it's a child or an adult, burn injury, your life changed in an instant, and it's overwhelmingly painful, and that loss of control associated with injury is really challenging for people. And so to be in a position where we can effect a positive outcome, as in most of the cases, as they go through their patient journey, I think I've always felt it's a really an extraordinary opportunity and an extraordinary sort of privilege, so that we are duty bound to learn from today to make tomorrow better, which is one of my mantras. And so when someone comes in like that, you've got to harness all the knowledge and experience that you can to just reduce that suffering. But every intervention from the time of injury will influence the scar for life.
What should you do if you have a burns victim close to you? What do we do?
Basically, if you see somebody burnt or you're burnt yourself, remove the clothing, remove anything that's still hot. For example, if a little skivvy has to be removed from a child and maybe a blister skin comes with it, you've done no harm. You're much better removing the clothing, and then you can use clean, cool running water for 20 minutes, and between 15 and 18 degrees will absolutely reduce the impact of that burn injury.
And Fiona, to get to someone like you with your expertise and what you came up with, spray-on skin, tell us how revolutionary and how much benefit people have got out of the fact that you've been able to develop that technology.
The spray-on skin story started for me in East Grinstead in the 1980s, when I saw people growing skin cells. Our skin is in layers, and the two main layers, if you imagine them like a bread and butter sandwich, and you split that bread and butter sandwich apart and scrape off the butter, that gives you the cells that are the engine room of the skin, that are replacing the surface all the time. And so using the engine room, people were growing skin cell sheets, very, very, very thin, and only one layer of the skin. And so Marie Stoner, I met as a scientist, a medical scientist in the bone marrow laboratories at Royal Perth. And the two of us got together in 1993. And literally, we just pulled out anything that had been written about growing skin. And we thought, right, what we need to do is to do it fast and simple. By 1995, we were spraying skin cells on, but basically it's harvesting the skin cells from your skin and spraying them over the wounded area. And it helps reduce the time to healing. It's not a 100% solution for really thick, deep burns, but we use it in conjunction with traditional techniques and more advanced technologies as well. And so it reduces the time to healing. In burn injuries, we know one thing. We know that if you reduce the time to healing, you will get less scar.
At some point, you genuinely believe with the intelligence of the mind and the body combined and the skin's ability to regenerate that we might literally be able to teach ourselves, our mind, to regenerate our skin without intervention, I should say. Is that a dream that's going to be in my lifetime, or?
I don't know. I think my team will kind of roll their eyes when I say one day we'll be able to think ourselves whole. If you want to build a Lego Colossus, you have to build the Lego bricks, And so we're building those bricks. And so, for example, I know with work done one of our young students, James Anderson, years ago, that if you're burnt here, your nerves change here. It's a fascinating question. And in your lifetime, maybe. I think I'm probably not mine.
How better now are burns victims off than they would have been when you started?
I think that's something that sometimes we lose track of because we're so in the moment, and we see the suffering, we see the scarring, and we're striving all the time, working with our patients to try and reduce that we forget sometimes to look in that rearview mirror and think, whoa, we have come a long way. When I first started, we were measured whether a patient survived or not. And so understanding it's a life event, burn injury, has led us not only to focus on the survival, but I guess that gets back to the mantra. We have to ensure that the quality of the outcome is worth the pain of survival.
Well, it's not a stretch to work out why Fiona was named the 2005 Australian of the Year, Joe. She is an extraordinary person and a mum of 6 kids to go with that as well.
And any royalties made from spray-on skin help fund the Fiona Wood Foundation, which leads the world in global research and helping burns survivors heal their bodies and minds.
June is National Burns Awareness Month, and a little later, our father-daughter duo, the Doctor's Car, will run us through burns remedies past and present. Plus, we meet the seniors who are sewing up a storm to help our healthcare workers. That's coming up next, right here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back. Every week we've been brought stories of innovation from people who have found another way of doing things. Circumstances have forced people to think outside the square, and we've seen some incredible results, Joe.
I love how creative people are getting. We've had hands-free door openers, giant tyre tubes used to keep people apart in cafes and bars, and everything from coffee filters to crazy costumes have been used as DIY face masks.
Well, on the face mask front, Joe, I love this idea. It caught my attention. A deaf mother in the UK who has custom-made her own face mask. Her version has a clear mouth covering so her and her daughter, who is also deaf, can lip read and communicate with each other. She's been inundated with orders and has a booming business as a result.
And here's another one, Das. A group of savvy seniors in Victoria's Barwon Heads started a sewing circle with a difference. They've banded together to make hospital-grade gowns out of recycled fabric. It's giving hospital staff much-needed protection and a sense of purpose for these senior sewers while they were forced to stay at home. As the sleepy seaside town of Barwon Heads entered lockdown in March, local theatre nurse Jenny Graham had an ingenious idea.
One of the surgeons that I work with was commenting on the fact that there was no PPE gowns for a lot of healthcare workers within the Barwon region, not at the hospitals, but within the greater Barwon region. So I looked at this enormous bag of KimGuard material that we have, which is what we wrap our sterile instruments in, and it just gets discarded and it just gets put in a bag, and that's it. And I looked at Jeff and I said, well, there are your gowns.
KimGuard material is designed to keep instruments sterile for 3 to 6 months. So Jenny figured it should be more than enough to protect healthcare workers for 3 to 6 hours. But with no idea how to transform cloths into gowns, she turned to a local sewing legend, her neighbour Frankie McGowan.
Jen, not more fabric. So she arrived with a doctor's gown and she said, we're very short in the district. There are people who are working who have got no gowns at all. Do you think you could help? And I said, well, yes, show me. So she showed me the gown and I said, yeah, I can do that. Come back tomorrow and I'll do a mock-up and see what you think of that. So for at least 2 hours I sat at the machine and cut and fiddled and carried on, and I made this gown which was honestly could have been entered in the Royal Melbourne Show. It was so beautifully done with inset sleeves and everything done perfectly, and I thought, that's taken me over 2 hours to make a gown, and Jen's thinking she might need a lot of gowns.
She said, Jen, this is just not going to work. And I said, well, let's come up with a more simple pattern, Frankie. Let's not, over-engineer it.
So that led me on to pattern making. So I thought, I'll cut out a pattern. How will I do that? So that's when my husband came into play. This is my latest Gucci model.
Over several long days, with her husband Hamish serving as her model, Frankie worked out a simple pattern that could be quickly sewn together.
I actually look a bit porky, but apart from that...
But the task ahead was still overwhelming.
She said, how many gowns are you expecting, Jen? I said, a few hundred maybe, Frankie. She said, I can't do a few hundred. I said, well, maybe, we can get some friends involved, or you might have some friends, and it may snowball, Frankie.
Snowball would be an understatement. Word quickly spread through the coastal community, and soon over 40 local seniors were sewing gowns around the clock.
It was just amazing how many people said, I know somewhere in the shed I've got a sewing machine, I'm happy to do it.
I don't know where reverse is on this one.
There's another gorgeous group that have been involved through Frankie, and they've snowballed as well. This is the other sweatshop that we have, the garage that's been converted into the sewing room.
How's everyone today? I said, I'd love to be part of that. Could I?
Everybody seems to have found a way to be a part of it. Not all are sewers, but some have been cutting instead of sewing, and there have been other lovely people who have said, look, I can't sew, I can't do any of those things, but I could drop off a cake.
Scones, jam and cream delivery. It just is the most marvellous example of being able to do something for somebody else at a time where we were rather forced to be thinking of ourselves, or that's how I found the staying at home period.
There's another lot for you to fold up.
I'd have to say I'm not a very good housekeeper, so it's I would have been bored witless having to clean the house all the time. And I think if you ask all these girls, they're very happy communicating with all these people that just kept them busy and active and being wanted.
We're certainly going to do something to mark what we've done. Personally, I would like to make a calendar, the Gown Girls, but it might be a bit risque if I make a calendar because, they all do up at the back, and I'm sure I'd come up with something quite outrageous to put in my calendar.
Together, Frankie's Seamstress Army have provided well over 1,000 gowns to healthcare workers in Barwon Heads and beyond. But with lockdown now over, they've decided it's time to wrap things up.
It's coming to a point where it's probably time to call it quits. There's a lot of sewers that keep saying to me, no, Jen, we can't quit. We're just having the best time. We're having so much fun. I'm thinking, you shouldn't be having that much fun.
I never thought at my age I would be working flat out every day, but it's been absolutely wonderful. The thing that I'm just so concerned about is that if we weren't using this fabric and giving it another life, where would it have gone? We've got to do something about that, but that's probably my next program. But I might have a little rest after this one before I start on that one.
Well, I think a lot of seniors were feeling pretty bored and helpless when they were told to stay indoors due to being high risk. So instead of simply hibernating, Joe, it's great to see how this group made themselves a big part of the solution.
And now that restrictions have eased and they've reached their goal of 1,000 plus gowns, the sewing project is complete, although some of the ladies do want to keep going.
They need to get moving on knitting beanies and gloves, Joe. I'm sure they will be snapped up in a second.
Yep, those harsh winds can play havoc with your skin too. I do always get a red nose if I'm out in the cold for too long and my lips are always dry. So the message is, in protecting your pout, staying hydrated is key.
Hi, I'm Jake Kisnorbo and I'm all about the latest beauty, hair and makeup trends.
And I'm Polly Harding, and working in radio, I've still got a lot to learn about the beauty biz.
Together, we're going to bust those beauty myths,
Strip things back to basics and learn a few new tricks in the process. Jade, we're at that time of year again. Winter is here and our skin is dehydrated. Help us. What can we do?
So a first step that I often do is grab a spray moisturiser or spray that you can pop on before applying makeup. Being inside through winter, we're exposed a lot more to heating and air conditioning and changes of temperature. This, unfortunately, leaves our skin quite dry and dehydrated, and also to the naked eye, it can appear quite flaky. So this is a time we really need to hydrate our skin.
So when it comes to putting foundation on, often I feel like that's actually making my skin look drier. How can I reduce that sort of appearance?
What I like to do is grab a serum or grab even some moisturiser, rub it into your hands a little tiny amount and press it then into your foundation just for that glow. There are certain areas of your face that tend to get drier than others. So nose, even eyelids can really dry out. The area I find the hardest is my lips. So this is the time that, yes, you can exfoliate at night and use things like a toothbrush gently on your lip.
Really?
Yeah, and it just sheds off any of kind of the dry skin. But another way is to actually invest in a really good natural lip conditioner that's going to actually condition quite deep into your lips. And I think in particular, the one that I've really been using on everyone at the moment is the Burt's Bees Ultra Conditioning Lip Balm. It's great for males or females, and it's just a universal lip balm, has no colour tint, it just works and does what it's supposed to do. Shea butter, cocoa butter and kokum butter are the perfect trifecta for your lips. Butters are super moisturising on the lips and they work amazing as a barrier between your lip and any lip products that you're going to use. Pop on your lip balm, do the rest of your face, so your foundation and your skin, and then go back to it.
Well, once again, you make everything seem very simple, and now I know that you're going to tell me off if I have chapped or dry lips.
There is no reason anyone out there should have chapped lips or dry lips for that matter.
Our focus on skincare continues after the break as our in-house doctors look at burns treatments from the past and the present, right after this. You're watching The House of Wellness. June is National Burns Awareness Month, which aims to prevent and help people recover from the tens of thousands of burns suffered each year, Jo.
We often hear about different degrees of burns and sometimes conflicting advice on how to treat them. So here with the facts are father and daughter, Doctors Nick and Isabel Carr.
Hi and welcome to Medicine Past, Present and Future. My name's Dr. Nick and I'm the past.
And my name's Dr. Isabel and I'm the future.
And together, we're the present. Now, Dr. Isabel, in this COVID era, what have you been doing in your spare time?
I've been enjoying this downtime to get more into my baking, Dr. Nick.
Yeah, and what have you been baking?
Well, I've been making sourdough at home, and you know the trick to... Yeah, I know you hate sourdough.
I am so over sourdough.
But I tell you what, the trick to making really good sourdough is having a cast iron pot. They get really hot and it bakes the bread really well in the oven. But do you know what happened the other day? I was taking it out of the oven and I burnt my hand.
And tell me, Dr. Isabel, when you burnt your hand, what did you do?
Well, the first thing I did was suck my finger and yell, which I know isn't actually the proper first aid for a burn. But once I remembered what to do, I went over to the sink and I ran cold water and put my hand underneath it.
And when you burn yourself like that, it just feels so hot. What you want to do is cool it. Were you tempted to go and get an ice pack?
It's a trick question, Dr. Nick. I was very tempted to get an ice pack, but when we burn ourselves like that, we cause lots of damage to the small nerves, and adding ice onto it can actually cause even more damage. So, no, I didn't. I just used the cold water for 20 minutes.
So there are three main types of burn. There's the superficial kind, which is something like sunburn, where the skin gets red and it might even blister, gets really sore. Then there are partial thickness burns, and they are nastier and they are very painful. And then the full thickness burn is a very nasty kind of of burn that burns right through tissue. Funny enough, full thickness destroys all of the nerves and may not even be painful. The edges, which are partial thickness, will hurt, but full thickness burn, you're going to need hospital treatment.
So we're very lucky that we have our hospital systems here at the moment, Dr. Nick, but what did people used to do when they were burnt in the past?
My favourite question, what did we used to do? Well, if you go way back thousands of years to Greece, to Hippocrates' time, he knew that fat was a pretty good treatment for burns, and he used to recommend pig fat. Other societies used wine. They also knew that honey had good antiseptic properties, and so was a good treatment for burns. And pretty much everyone's grandmother knows that butter is a good treatment for a burn.
Luckily, we have slightly more sophisticated hospital systems than that, and we can use things like skin grafts and even spray-on skin to treat really severe burns.
So then if our treatments are so good, why are burns so dangerous?
Our skin has two main functions. The first function is to keep things out, especially bugs. So if we have a cut or a break in the skin, we can get lots of different infections. It can be really dangerous. The second thing is our skin is actually a waterproof layer. Now, what this means is that it doesn't let any water in.
Which is why when it rains, we don't get wet inside.
That's correct, we don't get wet inside. But what it also means is if we have a large exposed area, we can lose a lot of water through that area. And you might need to be admitted to hospital just for fluids.
Other times people might need to be admitted to hospital. 3 groups. It's about where you're burnt, so sensitive areas like face, hands, feet, over the joints or the genitals. Then it's about who gets burnt, so young kids or older people are much more at risk. And then finally, it's about pain. Burns really hurt, and you might need hospital treatment just to treat the pain. But Dr. Isabel, I'm glad your burn wasn't that bad, but you really need a different hobby.
Or maybe pottery?
Oh yeah, just be careful of that kiln. Thank you, Dr. Isabel.
Thank you, Dr. Nick.
Well, some interesting info there in a season that typically sees a spike in burns, especially in the home.
Winter is also the time many people focus on their immune systems in a bid to fight off colds and flu. A healthy diet, exercise and fresh country air are great boosters, both for immunity and for your mindset. It's the life recipe that self-confessed farmer's wife and world traveller Katrina Roundtree swears by.
Katrina, thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful property. I have to ask, how does the most well-travelled person in Australia end up living on a sheep and grain farm?
Hot farmer. Unfortunately, my husband is very handsome, and let me assure you, I grew up with a very, very different life from this. I'm a city girl through and through, but I was in love with this person, and if I wanted to remain with him, I was the one that had to compromise, because you can't just move a farm. And I think the fact that my husband and I have had to work so hard for our relationship, as well as this environment, we just appreciate it so much. And so when you say thank you for welcoming you here, it's so much pleasure for us to welcome people here, because honestly, if you'd been here 20 years ago, it would have been a very, very different outlook. And this was dirt. This was where they kept the rams and the emus.
Emus.
It is such a long story, we do not have enough time, but slowly over the years we have created this.
Talk us through a typical day here on the farm.
Well, my son Andrew is the household alarm clock, and he wakes up right on 7 o'clock and it's all systems go. Pretty much straight to the chook house. I get my eggs. I have fresh eggs for breakfast every single morning. And then we have a big breakfast. All our meals are at a table, sitting down together. An average day really is everybody in the car, off to school, complete madness, and then making the most of the garden, helping my husband out. So we've got shearing, we've got sewing. For him, he is so busy. Come on, guys.
Here they
Out you come. It is a huge amount of work. I am just so proud of our farmers, of our primary producers, and what we produce in Australia is the best on the planet, and I will fly that flag every day, no matter how I can.
What's a non-negotiable then for looking after your health in this busy lifestyle?
Well, probably taking my vitamins.
Yeah.
I never used to take vitamins, But because I'm always travelling and I work closely with a film crew, it was actually my film crew that demanded I start taking vitamins, because you can't have one person sick when you're working in such close proximity to each other. It really is everything to be fit, to be healthy, and to just take care of not only everybody around me, but my own health and immunity as well. I am a little bit proud of this. Firstly, none of this was here before ISO, so to speak. This was just weeds. Nothing could grow between the hedge and the gums.
Okay.
But I really needed a project when we went into lockdown, and I thought, right, I'm going to plant a veggie garden. And my husband just said, stand aside, lady, I will do this. And he created this for me. And the only problem I have is he created it so well that all these veggies have gone bananas, and I don't know what to do with them. Like, I don't know what to do with kale.
It looks so good with kale. My tip, put it in a brownie. It is the best way to utilise kale. Sweet potato, beetroot right here, kale in a brownie recipe, delicious. What do you miss the most about the farm when you're away?
What is wonderful about travelling and then coming home is that it's a constant source of inspiration. But definitely just to see the changing of the seasons and to be able to pick fresh flowers and put them in the house. I'm now learning what to do with the vegetable garden and to make the most of that. So I think I just love having the space and having so much nature around me.
Now, I need you to make me a promise. I want you to look after that veggie garden.
Yes. OK, then. You just keep sending me the tips.
Yep.
I might have to send you some photos and you can just go, pick now, get rid of that one, hands off, here's the recipe. So if we could work in together, that would be great.
Katrina's a firm believer in the healing power of nature, just like Heinzie, who'll be back with a guilt-free chocolate snack. But first, here's GQ to answer some of your health questions.
At the moment, we find ourselves at home a lot more than we normally are. If that's the case, we can often become anxious. We can often worry about things over which we have little control. Make yourself a cup of tea. Chamomile tea is the perfect thing to settle tension and to calm anxiety. Get involved in a book, make notes in the book, do something, because doing things helps distract you. Look at some of the principles of yoga when it's relaxed time. Lie down, breathe slowly, nice and quiet, and just in and out. It is surprising how relaxing that can be. In times like this, it's really important we look after any health concerns that might arise. And one I'm often contacted about is reflux. Now, reflux is where you have burning at the base of your esophagus, the food tube, and the upper level of your tummy, your stomach, the mixing bowl, so very high acid conditions, and we feel that as heartburn. Slippery elm will coat those sensitive surfaces, and that's available in powder form and capsule form. And another little hint is to bring your main meal back from dinner to lunch. Mouth ulcers are really annoying, and a lot of viewers ask me the best solutions for those. Now, mouth ulcers are caused by abrasions of the delicate mucous surfaces inside our mouth, caused by dry mouth syndrome, caused by food that's too rough, or just chomping on the side of your mouth, which is no fun. Now, there is a paste made which you can put on that abrasion, and there are capsules that are specifically formulated to heal it as well. But either way, we can go back to enjoying our food once again. If symptoms persist, please chat to your healthcare practitioner. Take a deep breath and always be well, live well, stay well.
Welcome back. You're watching The House of Wellness. Joe, I know you live a very healthy life and food is a big part of that.
Yes.
Why are you laughing? We all have one guilty pleasure we can't live without. What's yours?
Chocolate and ice cream, and sometimes chocolate ice cream. A lot of the time, chocolate ice cream. What about you?
Anywhere near a hot chip, I'm in real trouble. It's the Irish
like a
heritage.
seagull.
It is anything with potato, actually, to be honest with you. I can't stop. And coffee too. I love my coffee.
Well, one of the many things we love about Heinzie is that he inspires us to eat right without sacrificing all the things we love. Hashtag chocolate. That's why I love Heinzie. This week he's here with a delicious sweet treat, minus the mess and the guilt.
Who hasn't dreamed of a giant cookie? I mean, why have lots of little cookies if you can have an enormous one? That is why you're going to love this recipe to my one pan cookie, because that's actually what it is, a cookie in one pan. The key to this cookie is making sure that you've got an oven-safe fry pan. You're going to cook here on the hot plate and then you're going to transfer it to the oven to continue the cooking process. After your butter's melted, you want to add your sweetener of choice. Maple syrup, honey or monk fruit syrup will work perfectly here. When you stir the butter and the maple syrup together, it creates a bubbly caramel-like consistency. When it bubbles like that, you can take it completely off the heat. Next, we add our almond meal, vanilla, cinnamon and baking powder. Almond meal is a fantastic gluten-free option instead of a white or refined flour. You'll see that it starts to turn into a bit of a dough consistency. All it needs now is an egg to bring it together. For the perfect flat cookie, what you want to do is you want to shake your batter around in the pan so you cover all edges and it's lovely and smooth. Now's the fun part, the peanut butter and the chocolate chips. I've just chopped up some 80% dark chocolate. I'm going to put that in randomly and then dollop it with beautiful salted peanut butter. Now all you need to do is bake this in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes or until it's golden brown and crunchy on top and your chocolate chips have melted. When the cookie comes straight out of the oven, that chocolate and peanut butter is extra gooey. Give it a few moments to cool down and then you can dig in, and do you want to know the good news? You can eat it straight out of the pan.
So honey, cinnamon, dark chocolate, all good tasting winter warmers as well as being great immunity boosters. Not sure I'd recommend adding garlic to Heinz's cookies, but it is a popular choice when it comes to tackling colds, Jo.
Well, garlic is packed with nutrients, tastes great in just about everything, including hot chips, and I love the smell. Our resident pharmacist Gerald Quigley agrees and is here to tell us why garlic crushes the competition.
French culinary writer Louis Diat says there are 5 elements: earth, fire, water, air and garlic. And when you consider its properties, it's no surprise this gnarly little bulb is on the list. Eleanor, take us through some of the health benefits of using garlic.
So garlic's quite versatile. It's actually quite a strong antioxidant, so it has a very good protective effect for general health and well-being. And it's quite well known to also help with improving or supporting our immune system as well. Most people would find all these different forms in their pantry. So you've got granulated, powdered, oiled, so where garlic's been macerated in the oil, and you've got minced as well.
This is a garlic bulb, very common, we know all about that, but take us through the process of turning this into aged garlic extract.
So aged garlic extract is essentially raw garlic that's been aged or fermented for up to 20 months. A lot of the nutrients and active components that would be in the raw garlic through the aging process change. So they actually change for the better. Some of them become a little bit more potent in their health benefits. But in addition to that, through that aging process, a lot of those undesirable aspects of the raw garlic dissipate. So aged garlic is odorless and it's very gentle on the stomach. So you don't have to worry about things like bad breath or an irritable tummy.
What benefits does aged garlic extract have over regular garlic?
Okay, so a lot of us do understand that regular garlic can help with supporting our immune system. However, aged garlic extract, its scope of health benefits go beyond just supporting that immune system. So aged garlic extract has had a lot of research behind it, hundreds of clinical trials that's found to actually support heart health, blood circulation, and even help maintain the function of your cardiovascular system. It's a little bit hard to replicate aged garlic extract in the kitchen, and it's not something you would normally find on the shelf at the supermarket. So a simple supplementation form will provide you with that consistency that you require every day.
So many health benefits, Yelena, from this humble garlic bowl, but what about the vampires?
Well, if we're keeping away the vampires, then we can keep all those health benefits for ourselves.
Coming up, we meet the self-care cowboy on a quest to revolutionise modern medicine. And next, we deliver an important update for Aussie tradies at risk of a deadly disease. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. One of the most inspirational guests we've had drop by last year was Erin Brockovich, the corporate activist whose fight for workers and environmental rights inspired an Oscar-winning film, Joe.
Erin was in Australia to shine the light on silicosis, a potentially deadly lung disease that's caused by breathing in dangerous silica dust. It mainly affects stonemasons.
This story with silicosis, we've kind of seen it coming. There's been, something where we should have made movements earlier on, but I don't know why we wait. That is distressing to me and can be preventable. So here we now have this news everywhere about the silicosis and young men dying and dropping dead. That is just inexcusable.
It was great to have Erin on the House of Wellness. And silicosis is an emerging health epidemic, and the number of cases in Australia is on the rise. The trend towards engineered stone kitchen benchtops is the cause of the rise, and the true magnitude of this problem still isn't clear, however, Joe.
Since Erin's visit, hundreds of Aussie stonemasons have signed up for free health screenings and are now receiving treatment. More than half of all the stonemasons in Victoria alone have registered, which is so great. However, the government is urging anyone who's been exposed to silica dust recently or in the past to register and get assessed now.
Yeah, laws have also changed so that dry cutting of engineered stone is now banned, and a compensation process is in place for workers who test positive for silicosis. Everyone deserves to be safe at work, Joe, and we'll be giving an update on this issue as it continues to unfold.
From protecting workers' health to promoting healthy development in our kids, here's Heinzie and GQ with the perfect way to blend up strong teeth and bones.
GQ, I bet you didn't think a mojito could be good for you, but I'm all about making dreams come true, which is why you're going to love this avocado mojito. Not only is there no alcohol, meaning you can have it any time of day, but it's great for kids too.
And I'm thrilled, Heinzie, to see you making a drink that both young and old can enjoy.
I know you are, GQ, and I tell you why this is great for young and old. Well, the avocados are packed with healthy fats. There's good phytonutrients from these fresh, colourful herbs, and of course, ginger's fantastic for gut health.
And I've noticed you've got some dairy milk there. Now, that is 1 cup of milk from 9, not million, but billion litres of milk produced every year by Australian cows.
Busy cows?
They certainly are, Heinzie, and it's terrific to see that this is child appropriate because kids will get the best benefit, the most benefits, out of using cow's milk.
Tell me more.
So, Heinzie, cow's milk and dairy products contain calcium, and kids only really get one chance for using calcium to help them with really strong bones as they grow. Dairy gives us that opportunity, and any dairy does. So calcium's not only needed for bones, but also for strong teeth, for muscle development, and for nerve development as well.
I love where you're heading with this, but hang tight. I just want to blitz this up. GQ, I believe there's another vitamin that's really good when taken in conjunction with calcium.
So, Heinzie, that's vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is needed to help our body absorb the calcium. It's difficult to get vitamin D and calcium in foods. Dairy can be fortified with vitamin D, but that's why looking at a supplement containing both the calcium and the vitamin D is a good option.
You are a wealth of knowledge. As always, GQ, you've earned this avocado mojito, which I just happen to think is utterly delicious.
Oh, Heinzie, that is so amusing. Cheers.
Cheers. The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Oftalin, Australia's #1 bone health brand.
Up next, we meet the man dubbed the Indiana Jones of Whole Foods thanks to his epic quest to uncover ancient remedies. That's here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back to the House of Wellness, Joe. Looking forward to introducing you to Cowboy Don Talman, the Indiana Jones of Whole Foods, someone that I've known for over a decade. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him several times, and it's always fascinating, someone who's gone on a lifelong journey to bring back simple medicine, whole food, so food that's grown naturally in the ground. Nothing revolutionary, Joe, but his way of expressing it is quite unique.
I do understand that one of his principles is the power of breathing, which I'm really passionate about.
Yeah,
he loves breath work.
7 principles of health, and it is basically around getting out in the sun, around good, clean, fresh air, good, healthy water, the food that you eat, food is medicine. He's a unique character and he's travelled the world exploring different cultures, unearthing alternatives to mainstream medicine. He's certainly fascinating. Here's just a little taste of one of his favourite topics and something I'm pretty keen on as well, and that's fasting.
Well, it was the ancient swinwet, the women of Egypt, that noticed and observed the animals. But they observed that animals that are sick or injured won't eat anything. They'll drink water, but they won't eat. And some of them will get as skinny as just skin and bones. And then they instinctively know when they're healed, and then they'll start eating again. And it's so fascinating. They observed that, and so they tested it on themselves when they had different, disease feelings or discomforts and stuff. And they found out that drinking nothing but water is the fastest method of healing. So I've done 6 40-day water fasts. And it's amazing what you begin to feel and the parts of the brain that activate and the cosmic energy that comes into you and the things that you will understand and be able to see and even dream about. It's amazing.
Well, as you can see, Joe, he is a unique character. He's received a bit of resistance from some sectors of the health industry, but his philosophy on self-care has definitely got a lot of positive attention in recent times.
I don't know if I could do 40-day fast, though. That's hardcore.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's for everyone. Not sure it's for me either, but I have had a 2-week fast before eating pulse, which is the ancient meal that he's brought back to the mainstream, or maybe not mainstream, but interesting 2 weeks, Joe.
So you ate the one meal for 2 weeks?
I did. Live to tell
wow.
As I said, not for everyone. We'll bring you more of that interview with Don next week when he talks through his 7 principles of health. They're common sense things, Joe, like clean air, water, whole foods, but also avoiding toxic relationships and finding your passions in life as well, which I know you're passionate about.
Absolutely. Purpose is crucial. And the toxic relationship thing, so important to recognise that in your life. So if that all comes from ancient teachings, then it sounds like not much has changed, does? Well, we've got it all covered.
We have. I'm looking forward to that next week when we return. Until then, you can head to our website, House of Wellness, for great recipes and remedies, and tune into the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday with our own Joe Stanley and GQ. Thanks as always to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. Stay well, and we'll see you soon.
Sharing time.